Top of the morning to you. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't underestimate this. Those of you who think 17 was popping the clutch, 18 is it goes to the world situation and in a way that I don't know that other, I'm not as well read as I used to be, where I would read everything, but I don't see this kind of story. This is it's a great bloodletting. It's a great thing, but it all goes back, and you get this now that you didn't get this in the film because we just that was it. That was our end of our schedule, end of our money. So you didn't get to see the aftermath of who Lorian. You did see that Lorian states what she is, but what she is I think we've been touching on this. She's a great military asset. And you get to see some of that in this last chapter, this little denouement. You get to see that, she's got a handler and she's got, that the people, the guys in the field were never more than just down the road, ready at any time to come in and take care of business if they had to, if Lorian wouldn't be successful. The whole thing was, and is, and if you've seen the movie, you're going to love this chapter. And you'll say it's better than the movie because it goes into some details we couldn't film, but it also sets up. I mean, how many of you, after reading this, have to have a sequel, have to have more? I have to have more. There is just, it's one of those stories. I have a lot of stories where, you're satisfied. It's a very satisfying ending. And that's one thing I can say about Hollywood films. They're never satisfying in the end. You know what I mean? And even series, they start falling down about season 3. But this just pops the clutch and goes into a higher level and keeps that pressure on the whole way out. So you're satisfied. If this is your thing, you are extremely satisfied. And gosh, it's been a long time since I've been satisfied. It's been a long time since I've seen some people recommend this story, that story, but many times, I mean, at least, I don't know, could I say 3/4? Would that be too much? Maybe half to 3/4. And I'm always looking for films. I'm always looking at, and I wonder, it's good. It just isn't quite satisfying. I hear a lot of people talk about books, how the book, like say something like The Shining, was more satisfying than the movie and all that. Of course, I disagree with that, but it's a thing in stories. There's a thing that we used to do. And the reason it's satisfying, there's only one reason, uno. And the reason that it's satisfying is because Zeph went there, across an invisible line that people don't want you to go. And I don't know why that is. I mean, they're going there now, kind of. But, if J.J. Abrams does a movie about, the military and the corrupt CIA, it's okay. You know what I mean? But it's fair. I mean, I guess what Mission Impossible. Another example of a film I saw recently that, again, some of it was kind of goofy, but I just wonder who they think the audience is, because this one, should be, but of course we're independently published and we're not, you'd have to find me and, you'd have to be on a voyage of discovery. But, and this is not out of ego or defensiveness or anything like that. I really approach this thing as tabula rasa, as a blank slate. It really was. And as I was reading chapter 3, chapter 18, I'm like, and I'm reading it and I'm doing some really light editing and grammatical checks and things. And it's very simply written because it doesn't need flowery prose. as I'm reading along, I'm just so gripped. I'm like, is this really going on? I really want to know. And so it pulls you through, like, after most movies, most stories I'm involved with have already climaxed. And then there's a little kind of a climax, and then there's a little ramp down at the end called the denouement. Kind of like you you hit the the pinnacle, and then there's a little settling. So and so moved to Argentina where he lived happily ever after, or something like that. After the climax, and then in this one, we hit one climax after another. And just when you think, okay, that's kind of a wrap up, it's going further because we're still not to the bottom of it yet. So we just have to keep ripping the pages to get there. And when we get there, we see, oh my God, it's all a simulation. Yes, but it's proven. And then in comes the military-industrial complex. And it's like, yeah, of course that's what it is. And it's been hinted to all along that they were in the program, and MIT and Oxford and Mind Control, MK Ultra. Actually, the inventor of MK Ultra fiction in our fiction universe is Cerno, and then he handed it off to his son, who decided to go make Sophia dolls and get laughed at. And the sad thing about like chapter 17 is you see the devolution of Heinrich. Just the falling apart of Heinrich. He just, no credit for what I've achieved. I do all this stuff. I make non-deprogrammable dolls, which everyone complained for 60 years, but the programming breaks. We have to reprogram them. And then finally, I come up with a non-deprogrammable. And what credit do I get? Nothing. And half of the technique I learned from the dead. So he's commiserating with dead. Well, and Lorian says, never talk to the dead. She just has this built into her. No, don't talk to the dead. And the reason why is because we all know how unreliable the dead are and how fooled people get. People, I'm in touch with your dead mother, and she says she loves you very much. There's that. But then it can go further to where these entities can actually take over a household, take over a person. So they're infested with the occult. There's even a book of spells, of all the witchcraft spells, and an ancient book on Heinrich's little altar. He doesn't refer to it, but you figure he knows it by heart. They've gone beyond simple, a pentagram and a circle and all that. So it's really science now. So enjoy it. I know that just trust me on this. If you've been with me on this whole journey, you're already at if you're at chapter 17, you're already pretty happy. You know what I mean? You're like, you want to get back to it, and now you're going to be even more happy at the end. And I think you'll join the cacophony of voices saying, there's a lot of them who liked to go on beyond this. And I think for that to happen, though, we really need the world to wake up to this story. And I'm sure they will, because we'll keep on. We'll do another one, but it can never finish the story, because the story is really ultimately about the situation we're all in. It's about, your life is a simulation, but it's and Lorian admits it in the end. She goes, I'm a clone of a clone. And then the question is begged, but where did it start? She keeps having visions of World War II. Was that the original Lorian? And I wonder. She's a clone of a clone, and then she feels like she knows everything about everything now, which is true. She does know everything. She knows everything. She knows more than the so-called patriot truther community of the internet. Okay, she knows way more than that, right? And way more than these people that say they read lots of books on the occult and stuff. She knows more than all that. She's on the inside, where reality is pumping out from like almost like a machine. It's pumping reality out, bum, 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 you know. And so this is your world, and this is your job, and this is your home, and this is your family. These are your kids. You know, so we have a simulation, but the problem is when people break the programming, there's another simulation right under that one. And so they never really get anywhere. And that's the clown. The clown represents Satan, Lucifer, the architect of the dark world, the realm of the dead, whatever you want to call it. And because I had a vision one time where I saw the devil, but he was like a giant clown in the sky, not like this clown. It was more like a dressed in like 1800s black garb, and this long clown face presiding over. There was a party going on. I might as well say this: the party seemed to be in another dimension. It's like 3 a.m, and there were helicopters hovering over this house. I could see, and I looked through the binoculars to look at it. And the next day, and then I saw this tremendous, I don't know, 1,000-foot Satan. And then the next day I looked, at where, went to sleep. And the next day I looked, and there was no house there. And it was so real, especially the helicopters and stuff. I mean, it was all just that anyone could see it, and yet it wasn't. It was, and then it wasn't, and then again later on it was again. And I've seen that kind of thing, and it's not a hallucination with me, because I had friends who saw the same thing when I saw it, and we compared notes. So it's like, unless it's a mass hallucination, we're all sharing, then probably there is some validity to the fact that reality can shift. And in this case, this portion of military, scientific, elite dictatorship, military, etc., that's off-world and on-world, they dole out the reality. So this is the stuff that we need to talk about on podcast. Anyway, thank you for reading. Thank you for being there. We're going to leave this up for a while. And I'm just really, really, it's been a long journey with Larry and Trish, and special thanks to all of them, and the movie makers, the actors, the people that made Girl Next, and then Larry and I, how we discovered, like, halfway through the editing process, wait a second, and we had this revelation together, and I think Trish agreed with it too, that this really isn't an easy wrap up, but she's been saved from the now this is, we realized what this was about, and then we finally understood, how can she outrun a Cadillac Escalade? You know what I mean? How can she lift? How can she be an expert shot? What the hell is going on here? And it's all, it all makes sense at this point. I would have both. We'll screen Girl Next again, but you sort of, in a theater somewhere, you've got to have the book if you're a fan of this, and then you need to start clamoring people, if you know anybody, for more. If you want more, you got to make your voice heard. I happen to think that it would be I'd be really involved and really interested in following Lorian around. It just makes my job, actually it makes my podcast self much more aware than I realize. A lot of the old books I had read, and philosophy and religion and religions and different things, have all come to bear about this. People are calling it a simulation on the one hand, and then on the other hand, they're acting like they're with it. Oh, it's a simulation. I'm awake. Wrong. That's my contribution today. You're so wrong. At the same time, here's some fiction that'll blow your fucking mind. And you know, I'm just really happy with this last chapter. It's one of those things that I wish we could have filmed it. The you know, the cleaners coming in, and there's some surprises there that are going to happen, but that's the next episode. You know what I mean? That's the next episode. Lorian, what she wants, I can tell you without spoiling it, she wants to fall in love and settle down. Okay. And you know, one question might be, well, Lorian, how old are you? You seem, as we've all gotten older, you don't seem to age. Ah, well, that's something to be picked up in another chapter, in another. And I can always write it out in book form, but you know, let's see where it leads. And have a great day. Hope you have a restful day today. And tell you know, and if people say it's too gross for me to read, oh, one more anecdote. I know this is a long video. One more anecdote. Okay, have you ever heard of Book Baby? Have you heard of Book Baby? Okay, well, Book Baby is used to be CD Baby, and then they became Book Baby. So for unpublished authors, you know, if you don't have a deal with New York Mind Control Central, you know, sell your soul for $1. If you don't belong to that club of fools, you know, and if you're not on the ship of fools sinking like the Titanic, then hearken up. Book Baby will publish your masterpiece. Now, I didn't want them to publish because I had a deal with Italy, with Weird Book, to publish. So they published it. And you know, it's available worldwide from them. We got to step up our marketing a little better. But they publish books. You know, they got Rob Zombie in there. They got you know, they got you know, everybody, all the, you know, Stanley Kubrick. They've got all the greats they publish. And then publishing me was a great honor because it means they consider me in the club of whatever, horror writers or whatever, which was a great honor. However, when I sent my book to Book Baby, I sent it there with the idea that they would proof it. I paid $200. So they would, and I paid it up front, which was stupid. So they would proofread it. Okay. And, you know, that's all I needed was help proofing, you know, because that's the hardest thing is like proofreading. And then, you know, sometimes you got to go back, go line by line for your grammar, for your better words, use a thesaurus if you need, you know, mix it up a little so you're not being, you know what I mean? It's writer stuff. Okay. So about a week later, I submitted and I'm waiting, you know, and I hear nothing for a week, and another week passes. I'm like, God, these guys are so slow. I thought they said they'd turn it around in a few days, you know. And it's not a big book. It's only like you know, 45,000 words or so. And I get this note back. We can't proof your book. We are offended by this work. We are so offended that we are dropping your order for proofreading. No, I kid you not. That's I have never been kicked out of a proofreading thing before, but there's always a first time. They could not believe how they attacked me, you know, as if I had done something to them, something horrible, something unforgivable by writing this book. So when, you know, it couldn't, and then I had to find, you know, other ways of getting it proofread, and I did. But what does that mean? Is that the state of our culture right now, that people think this book is just really sick? You know, I just can't. You know, if they think it's sick, they're just projecting their own sickness. You know what I mean? It's basically a reflection of their sickness. There's nothing in the book that's unnatural. Everything in the book is totally understandable and normal, in this rarefied world. But I mean, it all stands up to logic and flow, and and it's been very carefully wrought. And yet it got kicked in, because I mean, see, that's been the problem, getting kicked out for stuff I write, like Society. First thing I ever wrote, really, and Brian, the director, is all excited, and he thought he really had a big hit on his hands. And I was really, really proud of that one, and everybody that worked on it. And it was a little cheesy here and there, but it was Brian's first debut as a director. I think he did a really excellent job. And of course, his movies have all, as he's directed a lot more, they've, it looks more sophisticated now, but that story is enduring. People glom onto that and they never let it go. Well, we were banned from the United States, from all distributors. There was a blackout, and there's a little blackout. Well, I'm having these problems again with other projects. What is it? What have I done? I mean, I've just told a little more truth than you get on all this pablum of YouTube and Rumble and all this, the Big Awakening and all this. I've gone maybe a little further than that, because the people that are offended by it, some also consider themselves truth people. They see through the COVID thing, and they, or whatever it is that, I think the more if something really bothers them about it, and I don't think it's my prose, I don't think it's some of the lewd acts that you see of sexually or drugs or whatever, or language, or violence. I don't really, there was the vagina mutilator. Well, that's all set to go here on Mother's Day. Now, seriously, I'm being a little facetious, but what better thing to release on Mother's Day than the return of the vagina mutilator on Mother's Day? It just makes it's a perfect symmetry. What's wrong with that? They made a vagina mutilator. I mean, people are mutilating their vaginas all the time for whatever reason, and they don't even bat an eye. But this machine, this vagina mutilator, this is misogynistic. And that's what they said. And they said, anyway, whatever they've said, they have, number one, not backed up by logic, not been able to cite the incident in the book that is offensive to them, not been able to really, it should never have been read, and in a big effort to get rid of it. Well, I just got another check. It goes into our Crazed House partnership. Apparently Girl Next is on TUBI is getting lots and lots of watches. The other day it was trending. It just won't go away. And see, they kept madder and madder and madder about that. And now here's the book, and it's like, I thought we took care of that. Yeah, well, there were 70 awards given. And why was that? It's because of the ideas in the story that were able to be grappled with, which is no easy task. So I know I'm apologizing for it or defending it. It doesn't need to be defended. Anyway, chapter 18 is a great chapter. It's better than 17 and better than all the rest. So I love winding up on the high note to where you guys are happy, and if you see it again, or if you feel inclined. I know a lot of you are, fringe characters yourselves. You're pretty much outcasts and dropouts, and there's nothing you can really do to help me to help get over the unfairness of this whole situation. But it's felt, but I got to give it to the Lord. That's I just got to say, God, you put me here doing this. You gave me this gift to do this, and so and you told me to do this, so I'll just do what I'm led to do. It's amazing how uptight. These are the people that all became Satanist. Okay. I'm sure Book Baby doesn't even have anyone that's not a Satanist that works there. Right? It's all Satanist. Right? They don't call it that. No one calls it Satanism or satanic abuse or any of that shit. They just, they're just there with this understanding. And if I think something comes in that's a little bit real, meaning it's a little over that line, I think they just use an excuse. Oh, it's just too vulgar for me. When the real thing is, if I'm caught promoting this, then I'll lose my job. Okay. This is the kind of, and it's some of it's just paranoia. Nothing's going to happen to them. But they're going to continue as unfair, stupid people the rest of their lives. And so, yes, I do not recommend Book Baby unless you want to participate in the New World Order. I'll see you whenever.